So we have Kirby Gibson here today, and she is obviously very involved in NASPA. She's in RKC. She works really hard. She was willing to do this event, and I'll let her introduce herself. So,
Sure. Well, hello everyone that is tuning in. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kirby Gibson. I am a second year graduate student at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, graduating in May. So shout out to the class of 2015 for those of you that are out there. I also serve as the graduate assistant of learning communities for the Student Success Center here at UWM, coordinating our first year seminar courses as well as our living learning community opportunities for our students at UWM. So that's a little bit about me in terms of introductions. I also am a NUF alum. I participated in the NUF program for the 2012-2013 year, and I also serve as one of the co-representatives for Region 4 East for the NUF program, along with my mentor, Jasmine Clay.
all right, that is more about Kirby. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I am Derek Robinson. I am a first year in the Student Affairs Higher Education Master's Program at Indiana State. I am a NUF alumni as well, so we are proud of NUF alumni. I currently do a lot of research in men and masculinity and social justice, and I'm just learning the ropes as well as I continue my journey in student affairs, and I hope to see you all at NASPA. Those for you all who are joining, you can look at the group chat. I'll type in it right now. If you have any questions for me and Kirby, we're going to just kind of go off this of what the questions that we've created, and maybe can help you all plan and assist with the essay socials aspect. And if you're tuning in right now, go ahead and use the group chat as well. I think the first question that I'm going to ask Kirby is it okay to collaborate with organizations on your campus, and have you ever done that?
Of course, it's okay to collaborate with other organizations on campus. I think that's the best way in which you're going to have a nice turnout of folks showing up. I actually just came from a social this morning in which I collaborated with Marquette University and their graduate student organization in planning a networking breakfast. And so pretty much the board for their HASA organization and my board, I also serve as the chair for the Association of Student Affairs Professionals here at UWM. We reached out to each other about putting on this first time annual networking breakfast. And so the venue, Marquette took care of the logistics along those lines. But in terms of reaching out and bringing in faculty, professional staff, as well as graduate students or even undergraduate students that are interested in student affairs together. And so working behind the scenes with Marquette's HASA organization to put together the social definitely was helpful. And it also helps in terms of cutting any costs that may come up with that. So usually the more people that are on your boat with planning a social, the easier it is to hopefully allocate some of the resources or go about spreading out the tasks that need to be done for putting on an event. And so in this case, as I stated before, Marquette provided the venue as well as took care of all of the catering, and our organization was more so responsible for, all right, bringing the people there, so making sure that we sent out invitations and communicated the specific information that needs to be shared about like how much this was costing, like how much this was going to cost. So graduate students were required to pay $5, but professional staffs were able to go for free. And so that's kind of how we went about the collaboration piece, just as in terms of an example.
All right, and along with Kirby, and what Kirby said as well, I have collaborated with organizations as well. We call our SAHI type of organization aspiring student affairs professionals, ASAP, and we definitely do collaborate with each other because, like she said, it helps limit the cost, especially when you collaborate with other organizations. And when it comes to SGA funding or student government funding, they like that to see organizations collaborate. That may help you on your university campus as well. I think definitely making sure that you're willing to look at other student affairs or graduate student organizations as well could help alleviate the planning and cost aspect. So I
Mhm.
think me and Kirby agree that definitely collaborate. It's definitely a good thing.
And it's not necessarily just limited to student organizations. So thinking about how you can get involved with your division. Um, I never realized how much professional staff are interested in, like, are so willing to invest into what this profession is. And so professional staff have always been willing to lend a hand and say, hey, do you need me to help out with interviews? Right now we're in the process of working on a mock interview type of social event for our graduate students here. And so the fact that I know I could send out an email over the Division of Student Affairs listserv here at UWM asking for, like, soliciting professional staff to help out with the interviews, or helping out in terms of, like, hey, do you think you can, like, donate some, like, cookies or snacks or something like that to this particular event? So also don't be afraid to talk to your division and seeing in which they can help out in any way, whether it be through funding or just being able to provide the staff to help out with events.
All right. And yeah, I definitely agree. And make sure that you talk to the higher education or student affairs, departments on your university, and make sure that they're aware of what's going on. A lot of faculty and staff, they do want to help students and student organizations, but sometimes they just don't know because they're so busy with their schedules. So making sure they're aware and keeping them updated. So another question that we created or brought up was, how can I incorporate NASPA or recruit new members during this time? Go ahead, Kirby.
You can always recruit new members at any point. Thinking about, like, the involvement that we have in our KC, you always see Omega Styles posting a little blurb about, like, do you spend like $5 a day on Starbucks or something about that, and thinking about how if you get 5 or 6 cups of Starbucks, that is going to equate to your membership fee as a graduate student. So one, thinking about how relatively easy it is for you to sign up for that membership. For graduate students, it's only $37. For new professionals, I believe it's $75. But just thinking about how you can use, for example, how this KC is hosting this social, like, that's easy for you to just reach out in the Facebook group and say, like, hey, we're interested in getting together in the Detroit area or in the Chicago area, or even online, to host some type of social. And so recognizing that the NASPA network is very vast, and using your way in which to talk about, like, how easy it is to sign up for membership, thinking about how you may even reach out to your particular office that you're working in, and if that funding or those opportunities are available, to even get them to sponsor a membership. You'll also notice folks are online constantly posting about, like, I'm willing to pay for a membership for this many graduate students for X organization. And so it's definitely about reaching out to looking out to see where those particular resources are, but utilizing how big NASPA is to your advantage.
Yes. And I kind of agree. I definitely agree with what Kirby is saying too. For me, my school is more of an ACPA-based school, and that's perfectly fine. But definitely showing all avenues of what NASPA offers, and such as the NUF program or the other opportunities that undergraduates can provide. While you are doing this social, you can talk about all these avenues that NASPA provides, not just for graduate students, but for students in undergrad, because they're going to be prospective students, and they want to know what's going on, and how I can help out, or how I can become involved as a graduate student. So looking at all those avenues, and NASPA usually helps us with presentations that you can do at these socials, or bringing in members who are NASPA members who are on your student affairs faculty and staff. So just incorporating both, and just saying that, hey, I think it's great that you guys are ACPA, but we also have NASPA here too. So I think both organizations are great, but you can definitely promote yours as well. So
yeah. One other caveat to point out is thinking about how you can reach out to your national offices about getting resources from them. So for those of you that are familiar with the member engagement, Nathan Victoria as well as Yolanda Barnes work in terms of engaging all of its members. And so if you say, hey Nathan, can you shoot me a few like pamphlets about NASPA, or can you shoot me a PDF on a website about what's currently going on in NASPA, thinking about how you can have those pamphlets or type of information sheets at particular events that you so happen to have. I took a few swag items that I got from the Region 4 East conference not too long ago to an event that we had here at UWM, and they were like the business card holders, and so thinking about how you can give that swag away or just even pass out general information about NASPA or ACPA. It doesn't matter what organization it is. So yeah.
Yeah. All right, let me look at other questions that we do have. Well, Kirby, let's do a personal one. For your past experience, what has worked well with you with the essay socials that you have done?
Mhm. Definitely. I will echo pretty much what I said before, is reaching out to professional staff and recognizing that this isn't an endeavor that you have to solely put on your own shoulders, and being able to utilize all the resources that you have access to. And so if people want to get involved, they're going to reach out to you and pretty much state that they're interested in getting involved, but also not being afraid to get your feet wet and reaching out to those particular resources. You can also talk to Cherie, who is the KC rep for NGBPS, in terms of like doing past socials that you need help with doing that. And so I think maximizing the resources that I've had before definitely was really helpful in terms of getting things off of the ground and being able to get more attendance at events, but also, as I said before, the resources that you needed.
All right. We do actually have Cherie on this KC YouTube or YouTube Live or Google Hangout, and I believe she can introduce herself since she's so amazing, and we definitely appreciate her helping out and all that she does. And I'm going to let her introduce herself and let her talk about her experiences as well. So.
Hello, GAPS, as well as anyone else that's on the call. My name is Cherie Williamson. I work at Indiana University, and I'm serving in my second term as the new professional graduate student representative for Region 4 East. So, number one, thank you so much for participating on our call. RKC and Region 4 East decided a while ago that we really did want to help GAPS, and we understand that you all have the social component that is due in February. We have been running socials well in RKC for a little bit. We actually just had one last Friday in Detroit where we had 17 persons at that social. We've had past socials in Chicago. We're going to have one at the conference that actually Derek is going to be leading as a GAP, as well as we'll have two more that we are planning later this spring and Columbus, as well as another one in Chicago. So we can help you with your social any way, shape, or form. The different ways that we can do that is, number one, promoting. I personally can post anything on our Facebook page, where if you haven't checked out our Facebook page, you please should do that. And we will post your event, and so that's free marketing. We'll also put it in our e-blast that we have to about 400 members of our KC regionally. And then you have an extra bonus of a benefit. I am also on the national board for new professional graduate students as the social chair. So I actually promote everything new professional graduate students on social media. So I can guarantee to you that any social that you would like us to market it, I will make sure that it gets on the national new professional graduate student Facebook page and Twitter, again, promoting your event. Another resource that we have is Jamie Lewis. She is another great addition on our team, just like Derek. And she has actually been the coordinator of our socials, starting them as of summer last year. And she will personally work with you to facilitate some of those details of where do I have it? What kind of social do I want? How do I market this? And really that just getting ready process so you don't feel like you're alone. Jamie has actually hosted about 3 to 4 socials that have been successful. And actually she was a part of coordinating that Detroit social that was so well attended. So please utilize Jamie, and we can definitely send you her contact information a little bit later. And then lastly, we just really want to be here for anybody and anyone to promote and do social. So even if you're not a GAP, you can do socials. We really want you to volunteer. And the reason why socials are so important is that we're new professionals and we want that personal touch. However, most of the new professional graduates, graduate student leadership team here for Region 4 East is actually very Indiana, Chicago based. And so the other states that are part of the KC, we can't host socials there. So we really need those volunteers, those new professional or graduate students that can really volunteer and do those socials. Trust me, if you want to ask Jonathan that just gave the KC social in Detroit, it's so easy. All you have to do is just really get in contact with Jamie. She'll help you along with the process. And really all you have to do is just time, date, and call the location to reserve a table. And then show up. That's it. And if you're lucky and you're not too far, I may show up. And so those are the things that RKC wants to provide, but we definitely just want to make sure the GAPs knew that you are not alone. So please contact me, contact Derek. He is the liaison person in our team for the GAPs so that we can help you with your social. And if you really want to plan a social to meet more new professional and graduate students in your region, please volunteer. Jamie has sent out information to access a Google document to sign up, and we'll make sure that's available on our Facebook page as well as the link to this video a little bit later. Thank you.
Yes, and that is Sheree. And like she said, RKC does a really good job with helping out the GAPs. Like I said, I am all new, and we're doing a lot of new things, and like such as this event, you know, the YouTube Live, and you know, making sure that we keep you all updated and wanting to create new implements and new things like that. But like she said, Sheree and Jamie, they do such a great job, and this is my first year as a graduate student, and I'm learning a lot. So, and if you want to get involved, or you want to, you know, join the KC and get more involved, they are definitely willing to help and assist. So, but regarding with Jamie, she did send me some questions as well. So I'm going to ask one of the questions that she sent me. Let me just look it up. So, like she said, Jamie's great. She's knows a lot. She's had previous GAP experience, and she definitely is here to help as well. What type of venues work best for socials? Kirby, do you want to answer that?
What type of venues work best? I mean, it depends ultimately on what is your, I think you have to identify what is the goal of your particular social. Like, are you hoping to eat? Are you hoping just to be able to stand around and mingle? Are you hoping to host some type of, for example, like I said before, like a mock interview type, or some type of formal event prior to the social? And so I think it's important to think about what is going to take either case prior to that and what your overall goal is of the social. And so if it's just meant for people to just gather and be able to talk about how things are going over a meal, maybe a restaurant, or you may even want to consider thinking about what venues you may have available on campus. I know we utilize like our Union Ballroom, or you may want to get away from campus to get out of the university atmosphere and just being able to separate yourself from that. So you may even want to go to a local, I feel like there was one of the KC had the bowling activity, the bowling social, so you may even want to go bowling. I think you have to overall keep in mind what your goals are for the particular social, so that will definitely dictate what your venue would be.
Yeah, and I agree with Kirby. It's definitely what you're trying to look for and what you're trying to gain out of the social. There's no right or wrong way to do a social, honestly. Um, you just want to make sure that you're providing what you would like to see from the social. Do you want more membership, or do you want more faculty and staff to know about what you're doing in the KC or NASPA? Do you want to know? Do you want your professors or faculty and staff to know that this is the GAP program and this is what you are going to promote? It just really depends on what you're trying to gain from the social. Um,
I think it's important to keep in mind too your audience, and so
yeah.
thinking about that if you're thinking about potentially going to a wine bar or to some place that in which alcohol may be present, and we recognize that some folks are of age and some may not be, and so that's something to also keep in mind too. But overall, your audience is important in facilitating where that's going to be too. Is it going to be accessible for everybody to access for those who may have issues in terms of accessibility? And so making sure that you are being able to be open to a wide audience cap, but also being sure that you are having a place that's going to be engaging, going to be fun, going to be accessible in terms of finances too, that may come up.
Yes, absolutely. And like she said, it really will depend on your audience too, because if you wanted undergraduate students to come to this social because they're prospective students, or you wanted to show them, you know, the opportunities that are involved as undergraduates for the NASPA program or NUF, you would have to keep that in mind. You know, can they go to those type of settings, or would you want them to be at this type of social or for that event? So just keeping in mind your audience, like Kirby said. Um, Is it okay to collaborate with different KCs or different knowledge communities?
Yeah, that's a no-brainer, definitely. And so thinking about some of the KCs may be doing in your particular region, or when you all come together for like the larger conferences, or even at like the national conferences, you may even want to do a joint type of KC where it's the new professional and graduate students with the African American KC or what have you. So thinking about going back to what those goals are and who your target audience members are, and then going from there in terms of that collaboration piece. You're going to get more audience, you're going to get more attendees to generally come populate that event, but then also to being able to have various hands at the table to help out with the logistics and planning.
Yes. Okay. So when it comes to social planning, how how many weeks out in advance should you try to prepare, Kirby, or when do you think is a good time frame to get everything situated until the event occurs?
You definitely want to give it at least a month in advance in terms of planning out these particular events, because you have to do a lot of work in terms of booking the venue. Certain venues may even have requirements in which you have to go about their booking. So if they say that you need 2 weeks out, you want to make sure you give yourself the 2 weeks plus some in terms of reserving those venues. You also want to make sure you give yourself enough time to go about publicizing the event, creating the flyers that may be needed for that, being able to connect with the folks that are helping you plan the event to make sure that every single detail and piece is in place to make sure things are going to go swell. You want to make sure that you want to make sure that you give yourself enough time so that if anything were to come up, you're able to make amends accordingly, opposed to planning something a week out or a week in, maybe even 2 weeks out, and something comes up where you're no longer to be able to book that venue, or folks are no longer able to show up. So you want to give folks enough time to know that the event is happening and being able to allow that to fit in their schedule, but also in terms of the logistical planning, make sure you have enough time to get everything together.
All right, we have questions. I see that Andrew Gilbert, he says, hello from NPGSI. Question for GAPS or other SA social events, has anyone used Meetup?
I guess I can answer that. Number one, thank you for coming, Region 1. We appreciate you. Our KC has not used Meetup. Meetup is a website that basically allows you to connect to other people. I personally used it in Chicago for like other groups, but I've never used it for this. I think a lot of that is just because we have not used that platform. We've decided to use Facebook more so in our NASPA blog and our listserv. What we have done, though, is that on Facebook, we as the leadership team, as well as usually our host, will connect to or post on other Facebook groups. For example, I'm a part of the Black Student Affairs professional group that has 4,000 members. Okay, it is pretty huge. And so actually the Detroit meetup, which I'm going to keep talking about because I'm just so happy about it, actually had a good core of that group. However, Meetup can be an option, so I would say explore it and then see if it's the best for you. I would just, look at the pros and cons. There definitely can be some concerns there. However, we do keep our socials open, so anyone from other organizations or that aren't NASPA members can be a part of the meetup. So it is something that I will take that feedback back to Jamie or suggestion, see if we want to use it, but we have not used it in the past. I don't know if Kirby, as a former GAP, has known any of her other GAP members to use it.
I also am not familiar with, I've heard of Meetup, but have never utilized it as a platform. Primary platforms that I've used have, as Sheree has echoed, was the Facebook, Twitter, the blogging type of format. One of the things that I will also say is specifically with like hashtags on Twitter, thinking about how do you use like the essay chat hashtag, how are you using the essay grad hashtag, because pretty much that's going to backtrack all of the things that are being tweeted using that, and it's going to make its way out to other folks that are essentially following that back channel. So that's essentially what's been successful for me as well. But I definitely will check out Meetup and see how it works, and hopefully get back to you on what I think of it.
Yeah, I agree. I have not used Meetup. I'm definitely a social media person, as all you may probably know. Essay chat, essay grad, like Kirby said, platform usually is Facebook or social media, but I think it's always good to have different aspects and perspectives and different opportunities. So I will definitely look into Meetup. So if there's any more questions.
What I will say really quickly, Derek, sorry. One platform we have used in past meetups, we have usually every semester one major meetup in Chicago for all the KCs. We have been using Eventbrite for registration. Instead of using Facebook. And that is just in the past we've got from a lot of users that for whatever reason they're just not using Facebook. And so at some points we can use Facebook as a RSVP site, and then we can also use Eventbrite. Again, not too sure about that meetup, but that Eventbrite just makes registration a little bit easier. And we're about to have a meetup in Chicago, all region-wide, March 6th, and we will also be using Eventbrite for registration.
Echo all of that, Sheree. I've also used Eventbrite too, and it's been pretty helpful.
Well, I'm new in the game, so I will be excited to learn from these two of how to do those type of things. So, but yes, is there any more questions out there? Who's watching? We love new questions from who's watching. So, if not, we have some more, but I'm gonna let anyone else have any questions that they want to pose. All right, hey, Corinne, we have another question. She says, "Hello from Region 2. I did come on late, but I'm wondering, how did you find space large enough to hold a large amount of professionals and grads?"
Do you want to start, Cherie, or do you want me to take that? I guess I'll go ahead and start. And so um, we talked about how like using Eventbrite and doing RSVPs in terms of being able to, one, gauge the amount of folks that will be attending your particular event. A lot of times we host some events here at UWM, the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and the event space is dictated by how many people that it can hold. And so ideally, I set like an ideal kind of range of how many folks I would like to attend an event. So if we're aiming for 50 folks, then I make sure that I reserve a space if I'm going to do it at the institution. Talking with our event coordinator about, hey, I need an event space that will hold 50 people. If you're thinking about doing the event at another venue outside of that, just doing some phone calling to those particular venues and saying, hi, do you have party accommodations available to serve this many people? If not, would we be able to potentially partially rent out the venue? I think it's about asking those questions to those venues about what capacity size is.
Kirby did an excellent job in explaining that. I will say that first and foremost, for the gaps especially, I would definitely tap into your own resources at your university, working with different organizations, working with your dean of students or assistant dean of students or someone like that to get event space. The first meetup or social that I actually went to was in Chicago at Loyola University, and at that time the VP really did support that series of gaps and allowed them to have a pretty large space. And I believe people in and out were coming about 30, but overall I think there were about 50 to 60 that did attend that event. So just be mindful on your audience. As far as us planning, we usually shoot for about 30 people that can come in and out, and we do look for those places that are in convenient locations where people can either drive to, especially lately we've been doing after work Friday socials, and so we try to be mindful of the venue, how people can access it in enough time, and then if they do have an event room. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. We have had successful meetups at restaurants, at lounges, and even at like pseudo bar places. We try not to do bars though, just because some of us are young professionals in grad school, so we don't want to restrict that. It is going to take some phone calling on your part. I would usually say for meetups, kind of start with a low number like 15, and then if you think in RSVPs you're gonna hit that 30, see if you can do about that. And that's just in my experience as of yesterday. We were trying to locate a location in central downtown Indy Chicago on Magnificent Mile. You can only imagine how difficult that could be. And we just actually were able to go to Bar Louie's. They are going to hold a space for us and everything like that. So you're going to need to talk to the manager, really think about convenience, and other things to not only consider, not only space, because sometimes they will accommodate like a big group. Think about the menu and how expensive that could be. We right now don't have funding for those events, but hopefully in my region we're putting in proposals to try to get people funding for socials. But in the meantime, just be considerate about how much the restaurant costs, even just how much like one drink, alcoholic beverage might be. $7 might be a little bit high for people, or 10. So trying to take that consideration, how people can access the event. Is there a train, bus line nearby? But for gaps, it might be useful to just see if you can find an event space on campus, and if you can't get like the biggest thing ever, maybe just using a conference room might even be good, because a lot of these socials are people coming in and out and standing around. The only time we usually do sit down socials are at conferences, but everything else is usually standing up for the most part. So be creative and think about a lot of those components, but I would say in the beginning, kind of keep it small and realistic. If you think you can get 15 to 30. Kind of call, see if you can get a space for about 15. Let them know it can go to about 20, 25, 30, and see what they say and play around from that. If you start really big, like 30, that's going to make people go into conversations as you're going to need a minimum of drinks. You're going to need money to reserve that location, things like that. And you might not want to use those resources. But hey, you might be at an institution where Student Affairs Division is giving you money. So, cool.
All right. That was a good question, Corinne. Is there anyone else who wants to pose a question right now? I'll give you some time. So.
One other piece I would add on to the venue piece is thinking about those nights where those venues may be really popping or really popular. And so, like, if there's a night in which that, oh, there's dollar burgers, although, like, ideally that may be enticing in terms of price, also recognizing, too, like, you're definitely going to have to put in the reservation for that, or you may not even be able to get reservations on those nights. And so being careful in terms of venues that are very popular and tend to have those different types of like offers, because it may not necessarily be able to accommodate your group, especially if it's a large group like that.
Yes. Okay, so one question that I proposed was, if you have a small budget, how do you make it work?
You stretch it out as far as you can. No. Pretty much some of the things that we've been echoing is thinking about what you are able to get like on your home campuses. And so like if, for example, if you are able to get free venue space, that helps with cost efficiency. Trying to maximize essentially the little resources that you do have. So hoping that you don't necessarily have to solely use that by talking to the particular, like collaborating with different folks. And so like if you're going to do something with this KC, for example, thinking about like, okay, like where are previous venues that you've done before that are relatively low price or not even like just not doesn't even cost anything, or thinking about our graduate students on campus once again, like where is a space that you can utilize on campus? Would it be a conference room? Is it going to be one of the classrooms that are at your institution? And thinking about too, like if you're going to do something on campus, sometimes most institutions have, if you're going to utilize it in our union, for example, that's how it is here at UWM, we can't bring in outside food from other places. We have to do like catering through there. And so if you recognize that that's going to be an issue for you, you may not be able to get that. You may get the free event space, but then in terms of you're hoping to have like snacks or something like that, you may have to find another place in which to do that. And so thinking about what resources you already have access to and only being able to, when you have to use your budget, using that accordingly.
I would also, and that's great advice, I would also say a suggestion is you will be surprised of how many people, especially NASPA members that are GAPs, come to me as a representative for new professional graduate student and ask me questions like, do you have the funding? Would you like to, you know, market the event or kind of be attached to it? I know that we have people here from Region 1, yay, and Region 2, great, 2 times. I would say really reach out to your representative and see what they might have, or even the treasurer of the board too. You really don't know what they could say. The worst they could say is no. I mean, and you'd be like, okay, I got some, you know, I got $1. I see what I can do with that. Also, in Region 4 East, we have done no host socials. So what that means, if you've ever been in a wedding or anything like that, it's basically like saying open bar. You can have a drink, however, it's on you, not the host. And so we have not had any problems with that whatsoever. While we would love to provide at least just buying a soft beverage or appetizers, we just haven't been able to do that as of yet. So saying that the event is no host is actually okay. Again, in Detroit and Columbus, Chicago, when we've had no host, people have bought their lunch or whatever, or even better, people have, got to the event and just bought appetizers for the group and people have shared. So I wouldn't worry so much on, providing food for people. Really advertise it as this is an opportunity to network, to fellowship, to, especially right now, gain connections and resources for the job search or, whatever you're trying to do in the profession. Because that's really what it's about. It isn't about feeding people, unfortunately.
I agree. All right. Well, regarding that piece about making those connections, what is appropriate and what's not appropriate at a social? Should I bring my resume? Should I bring my business card? Should I ask about internships during this time?
Yeah, definitely. I would say you want to be mindful of who you're interacting with. Like, of course, like if it's meant to be a resume type of cover letter type like social or review event, like that's the environment for that. But if you're coming in, just honestly, the point of socials is to make those connections and being able to meet somebody new, learn about their interests, learn about what they're doing at their institutions, not necessarily making it about you, but making it about the connection that is happening between you and that other person or those other people. Business cards definitely are nice. I would even say, we talked about this at the SA Grad Chat last week about networking cards. So they're a little different than business cards. And so if you don't want to necessarily give out your office phone number or your address at the institution that you work at, create little cards that have like your name, your LinkedIn account, your Facebook account, or Twitter. And so that those are ways that you can establish those connections too. But thinking about like using it as an opportunity, honestly, just to learn more about each other. And if the conversation lends itself, you want the conversations to be organic and not like essentially fake, for lack of a better word. And so if the conversation lends itself to talking about opportunities that may be available at another institution, let it go there, but don't use it as a way to say like, hey, I'm buttering you up now so you can talk about this job that's available because I'm interested in it, because that's not the time and place to do that.
All right, Caitlin, could you type in your question one more time? I saw that you had a question and I tried to pull it up, but it did something. So if you could retype that again, and welcome. We saw that you're from a region. If you can type that in one more time, I would really appreciate that.
And in the meantime, Kirby touched on a lot of to-dos for socials. So yes, bring your business card. That's helpful. But I'll also talk about what not to do. Mm-hmm. Number one, yes, it is not the interview. It's great to put yourself out there, the interest, but this isn't an interview, and it does come off very unorganic if you just act like it is, and I feel like you're then using me, and so I know that it's very stressful. You probably dream of working at IU. Let's talk about IU, ask me about my experiences, but I'm not interviewing you right now, and I probably have a drink in my hand, and I really don't want to interview you. Number two is please remember to follow up, especially if somebody tells you to follow up. It is the most annoying thing. I went to a meetup, the last couple of meetups I've been to, I've told a person, like, you need to follow up with me because I want to provide X, Y, Z. And that person was a little embarrassed when 2 months ago, I had told them this and they had not met up with me, and I have connections that can help them. Am I still going to help them? Of course I am, because I'm just so nice. But a lot of people don't give you second chances. And so especially right now as we're looking at jobs, so just be mindful of that, to please follow up if somebody asks you to, or if you say you're going to add somebody on Facebook or Twitter or whatever to keep in touch. People are really looking forward to that kind of stuff. So just keep your word. And also just be mindful, if you are going to participate in the adult beverages, and this is also true at conferences, keep it at a minimum, please. That's just respectful. Of course, sometimes a drink can, loosen the atmosphere. However, we are not, we don't want to have to take you home because you decided, to get too loose. And it's still a professional atmosphere, so just keep those things in mind. Unfortunately, I have seen all 3 or 4 of those things happen. So just remember that even though you're a new professional graduate student and you're young and you're going to make mistakes, just be mindful that these are personal connections. We've had many socials where a vice president or a dean of student affairs was there, so you never know who you're impressing at that point, okay?
All right, great information, Sheree. Caitlin, I have your question. Welcome. And it says, how do you connect to student affairs professionals in the area to invite them? I do not have a contact list around here.
Definitely. The way in which we did it for this networking breakfast that we had earlier today, so hi Caitlin, in which we collaborated with both the HASA organization at Marquette, but then also our HASA organization here at the University of Milwaukee, Wisconsin-Milwaukee, is one we both, we reached out to alumni of the program, and so if you're able to talk to program directors or like faculty members that may have like a list of like an alumni list group going, that definitely is useful. Another thing that we've talked about earlier was utilizing the Facebook group that is the KC. So there's tons of publicity opportunities for that, whether it be on Facebook, the blog, email, just being able to solicit everyone. So they may not necessarily be at your institution, but maybe near your institution that may potentially be interested in coming. And so being able to just, when that word gets spread around, usually through social media, other folks tend to spread it around too. And so just essentially passing on the torch.
Yeah, again, Kirby hit on a lot of great things. I will say that for the gaps, Nathan is very free, willing, at least in my opinion, to give you all the list of gaps in your region. And I have seen gaps actually just find a meetup place where, could be a central location between the 2 institutions and host together. So I would encourage that, especially if you live in the same city, maybe just, y'all both can knock your requirement out and try to have a little bit more of a bigger attendance that way. Also, please reach out to your rep. We actually do have a contact list of those persons that have expressed interest in our region of wanting to do socials, and sometimes that social is on hold because they're waiting for another person to jump on board. So just show us your interest, show your rep your interest or your graduate student representative on the board for your region, and they can possibly look at people, because we do get a lot of information from persons that want to get involved. And so the 3 ways we tell people to get involved is host a meetup, write a blog, and help us at conferences. So we do have that list. And if we don't have someone in your particular state, like let's say Iowa, we can definitely try to find somebody. I tap on people's shoulders all the time, like, hey, I love, your interest on the Facebook group, or I've seen you at a conference. I have somebody that's wanting to do a social. They really don't want to do it solo. Would you be willing to talk to them? But I say all that to say, ask Nathan for the gap list if you don't have the gap list for your region, and see if anybody's close by, and then tap into your regional NASPA new professional graduate student resources as well. And if it still comes up, like especially if you're in another region and you feel like your rep isn't talking to you, let me know, because I can try to communicate them in another way. But at least for our region, Jamie has a list already of persons, especially in Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, and Wisconsin, and Ohio, that would really like to do socials, and we might have one on hold, or we have one coming up that you might want to get a part of.
Agreed. Exactly what Sheree said. She hit it on the nail. And Sheree's actually really good with socials. I've seen her do a few past 2-3 weeks. So she's she's been pretty active with the socials. And Jonathan, I've been seeing his posts on Facebook, and it looked like it turned out really well. So, yeah. All right. Is there any more questions out there? We're almost at that 2 o'clock mark. We have about 10 more minutes. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask. This has been great insight so far. So.
Mm-hmm. I'll just throw this out there. So as I stated before, for those of you who may just be chiming in, I am a second-year graduate student at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. So I am stationed in Wisconsin, at least for the next few months. And so if you're interested in doing something here in the great cold state of Wisconsin, feel free to reach out to me. I can pass on my contact information to our KC reps, and you all can reach out to me or find me on Twitter, krgibson89. I would be more than willing to connect with you about putting on different socials. We're always looking to do something specifically with our organization and telling other folks about how awesome NASPA is and wanting folks to get involved. So feel free to reach out to me at any point in terms of putting something together.
Yeah, because Kirby's pretty awesome. So, you know, she's not like just a graduate student of the year in our region. So I'm sure she has connections. Another place is looking at your mentors. You know, tell them what you're doing and see if they might have a graduate student or someone that wants to work with you. So that could also be the case too. Or enough might be willing to partner with you to kind of get that experience. I know enough in Detroit that's like really gung-ho right now, and I'm sure if I asked him, you know, hey, can you partner with a social, he would love that. And that's the experience that they get to put on their resume, get to meet professionals in the field, so they get that, you know, that touch. So if there are any enoughs at your institution, I would maybe tap into them too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and kind of like what Kirby said, my name is Derek Robinson. I'm a first year in the program, so this is all new to me. I am at Indiana State University. Go Sycamores, blue and white. I know Sheree's IU, so I'm not going to say that. But I am in the program. I'm enough alumni. If you guys want to connect with me, I am social media guru, Derek Robinson. You can find me at Derek ISU or Derek DERRICK ISU. I'll write it, and then at Derek D Rob. So, but yeah, me and Kirby, we actually were at UC Berkeley this summer, so we connected very well with the QOI and internship. So yeah, like I said, I really appreciate her doing this. I asked her, and this is all new for us because we wanted to do this YouTube Live for Google Hangout, so we really appreciate all you guys coming out. The regions, we have a whole bunch of different regions, so shout out to the regions that came out today. We really appreciate that. If you guys have any more questions, please let us know. We are here. So, and once again, we want to thank Sheree. She literally got me through this, like literally before this started. I was like, oh my goodness, I haven't started this. Kirby's like, calm down, you got this. So I appreciate everyone who came out and supported it because it's been great. So.
And just official NASPA, thank you. On behalf of new professional graduate student KC, not only the national board, but also the leadership team from Region 4 East, I want to thank you so much for your participation. We really do hope that this helped you, especially our GAP members. We've been hearing the last couple of years that you might not feel that support in how to do this particular requirement, so we wanted to do that. And so I thank, number one, Derek, for jumping on board. He's been with our team, I think, since the end of November, and he has been putting out programming. You'll be hearing a little bit more from him. I'm also going to send out a follow-up email, which I already had sent previously, just letting you know of all the resources we have. I want to thank someone that isn't here that's a part of our team, Jamie Lewis. She has definitely been a part of planning and a part of our leadership team for Region 4 East. And again, she is that coordinator for our socials. So if you have any questions at all, please contact me and I will get you to her or contact her directly. On this page, I have put our link for the Facebook page as well as the form for our Google Doc to sign up to do socials, so you can definitely find that information. And lastly, I highly encourage you, as Kirby said, to join NASPA. For I am a new professional affiliate. $75 for the whole entire year. I have voting privileges. I go to the conferences. They mail me stuff. So you do not have to go to that $100, $200 fee, okay? $75. Graduate students, I believe it is $35. So please, please, please commit to joining NASPA. And if you are a part of that other great organization over there on our left-hand or right-hand side, please still feel free to join NASPA and maybe attend a regional conference or meet us at New Orleans. We will really, really appreciate that. And we will have a national social, a regional social at the NASPA conference. Derek, again, will be leading that. But I just want to thank everybody so much for coming. This was our first time, and I'll let Derek see us out.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. We appreciate your time. Like I said, Kirby, thank you for really pitching in and doing this. Like I said, I asked her to do it, and she did it. So thank you so much. So
No problem.
Yes, we really appreciate y'all. Like I said, stay connected with us. For you GAPs who are going through the internship process, Kuwai Nota, good luck. I actually have an interview after this. So, yeah, stay connected, and Sheree is such a great resource. If you want to get involved in the KC, she will want your help. So go ahead and contact us. We'll put our emails and information out, and if you guys have anything else, let us know. But we appreciate your time, and thank you all for listening to us. So.
And thank you, Kirby. Yay!
No problem. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you guys for your time, and like my mentor says, do good work and always be a good colleague. So you guys have a good day, all right?
Bye, everyone.
Bye.